Ladies and gentlemen, it's Thursday night. I am your host, Dixie Dave, with this guy over here, Crossen.
My hair is sticking up there. I don't know why that is. Yes, Crossen here. And Dave, we just had a huge internet outage. I don't know if anybody else is dealing with it. Quantum Fiber and CenturyLink in the whole country, I think, we had an outage. So it just got restored like 30 minutes ago here. So.
Well, we were having a little issue earlier when we were out and about. So
yeah, so that we are live. I would have done my hotspot, my mobile hotspot, if I had to. I don't know. I just don't know. That wouldn't be as good. So I don't know what that would do with the watch line. So
yeah,
kind of glad that didn't happen. But yeah, we're live, and you know, we had a great show on Forward last week. I don't know if you've seen any of it, Dave. I know you've been busy, but
I'm sorry, I have not. We had family over that day, and
yeah, because you didn't even jump in the chat.
Yeah, normally, you know, I would have. So
right, but it was a great show. We were out of character for a change, and for the most part, it was fun. We talked about a lot of things.
You know, there was a reason to be out of character. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, Ricky's going through a lot of emotions right now. Both him and Ben, I'm sure, are going through a lot of emotions right now.
Well, I think they're both just, you know, Ricky said it was his best match he's had so far, and I know it was Ben's.
Yep.
And I'm sure they're just happy with that. So they're just living the moment. And boy, it makes you feel like I sure wish I could be their age again, Dave. You know, that was the time. That was the time.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
You know, it's like I was telling you off camera. You know, I ran to get some food, and I went dressed as I am right now.
Yeah.
And the guy saw the shirt and he goes, "Oh man, cool old school wrestling shirt." And I said, "Yeah, those were the days." And he asked if I knew any of the people, and you know, I pointed to myself after I told him, "Yeah."
Yeah.
Told him that was me, and he was in shock.
Yeah, it's Dave loves doing that, by the way. He loves wearing their shirts and then going out in public and striking up conversations. He does that regularly. Let's see. We got some comments here coming in. Start with a few of those before we get going on the watch line. And it's one of our regulars, Gizmo. Dave, very respectful introduction to our very own Crusher Crossen. Nice to see the respect back. See, Dave?
I thought I'd be nice to the old timer for a change.
You know, I didn't even pay attention. I'm just so used to you ripping on me that I just thought that's what you said. But thanks, Gizmo, for noticing.
Well, you know, like I said, I had to be nice to the old timer. So
yeah, the old timer.
Yeah.
The old timer though, they can still go a little bit according to the guys. I mean,
oh yeah,
I didn't show them a whole lot, and I know, Dave, I could have done more. And I know for what I did, I know I can definitely go with most of what I could do. There might be a few exceptions, but I really, you know, I had the bug before. I really got it now. But if Crusher Crossen gets back in the ring, it's going to be presentable. I mean, I'm going to get myself into even more better shape for that. You know, so
you know, before you go back out there and you decide to get in the ring, we got to get together because I got to teach you a few things that I.
So you say, you know, I don't know if you're going to teach these kids anything with anything. They've probably seen everything.
You
teach me.
Yeah, teach you a few things I picked up after my days in the NWF.
Oh boy. Okay. Dave, you know that I taught you everything you know.
As a teenager, but I progressed.
Well, we got a good show today. It's going to be Fred Moore Junior High, studio taping 58.
The ring from hell.
The ring from hell, man. That was a boxing ring on concrete, wrestling mat pads on concrete, basically. So bumping in this thing sucked. And a lot of the kids were kind of afraid to take major bumps even. And then rightfully so. There was no give.
I mean, I took my first bump in that ring. And
yeah, knocked the wind right out of you, too.
Oh, yeah.
Dave took a body slam from Chad Randall, Invader 2, and knocked the wind right out of him. And Chad was telling him to kick out. And what did you say?
I can't.
Yeah. I used to do that to friends, too, that would come over and always accuse us of being fake and everything. I say, you think it's fake? Come on up, I'll show you. And I always do the body slammer, either a body slammer or a suplex, because those two, you can't prepare for it. You know,
Yeah. If you don't know what you're doing,
if you don't know, it's gonna knock.
it's a rough bump.
Yeah. And then they wouldn't say they might realize it's fake, but they ain't gonna tell us to say it to us anymore.
Well, you know, that's the thing. We always had to protect kayfabe, and
Well, we tried.
you know, I mean, even after I left the NWF, people would tell me, "Oh, wrestling's fake. It's crap. It's, you know, everything negative." And you
Yeah.
know, I might lock them in a figure four or something, put a little pressure on it, or
One interesting thing that Ricky mentioned last one, I didn't really dwell on it too much, but he thinks they do these like shoot grapples, right, where they go back to back and then they actually grapple for real to try to get somebody see who can get who pinned first. You know, it's kind of a shoot basically for the little in the ring segment. And Ricky takes pride that he can beat Ben doing that. And I said, well, you'd have a hard time with me. And then somebody asked the question, I think it was one of Gizmo or somebody, said, do you think you could beat Crusher if in a real match? And Canary Kid seems to think he can. Listen, you think I might be old and I might be over the hill, but I still know how to do things. And I'm telling you right now, Dave, the Canary Kid will have his hands full if we ever do that. And in fact, I will do that. Now, John McCann, I don't know about John. John's got a lot of upper body strength, and he's I'll try, but I can't make any guarantees there, and I can't make any guarantees. Ricky too. If Ricky's fast, and if he gets the upper hand on me with the speed, that'll be a problem.
Yeah,
I'm not stupid. I know how it works, but I do know how to get out of things.
Right.
All right. Let's see. What is Sports Talk saying here? I got a question. I really liked your show last week with out of character episode. Nice to see Ricky's real personality. Yeah, because you don't see it a whole lot. Ricky does, he's usually always in character, but we do that because it's more enjoyable for us to do that. I don't know. Do you guys want to see more? Would you like to see more of a mix? Would you like to see us out of character more than in character, or kind of, because usually with me and Ricky, we go in character quite a bit. Dave and I don't, though.
We slip in and out. But
we just slip in and out. So I don't know. Maybe you guys can let us know how you'd like us to do it. We do the character talk. We go into character just because it makes it more entertaining. And like for instance, when I apologized to Ricky, and then he cold-heartedly said, "I'd like to accept your apology, but I can't." Very cold, right? You'd never expect to hear that, and he did. But that's what makes it fun. That's why we have fun with that. We like doing that kind of stuff. So, yeah. So, anyways, it was great. I'm still buzzing over the whole experience of Ireland and going to Northern Ireland and being a part of all that. That was so much fun. Yeah. So Gizmo says for that, on that basis, do a mix, especially on serious topics. Yeah, I guess. We should. We don't have to be in character. We were probably in character a little more lately, only because of the buildup of the title match.
Right.
Yeah, and I think going forward that we probably will be more like kind of a 50-50 split. And so yeah, Ricky, if we ever took Ricky's introduction segment away, he'd go nuts. That's his favorite part of the whole thing. And boy, did he enjoy last week's, because he got to say he was NWF World Champion. Oh, yeah. He just wanted to say that to me so bad. You could just see the grin on his face. But good for him. I'm happy for him. I'm happy, and I'm just happy that we had a good match. That it was a really main event worthy match. And
I was even talking to our friend Carmine, and he said he saw that our title was reactivated, and he's like, "What's going on with that?" I haven't had a chance to get back to him on it. I kind of explained to you off camera. I'm not going to.
Well, he's a busy guy, and if it piques his interest, can you imagine that, huh? So,
and he said, because we've talked about bringing him back.
Yeah, I'd like to have Carmine on again. That was a great conversation.
He just told me, give him the time and date.
Really? Yeah, we should have him come on again, because he's, and who else we got to get on now? Hammer, because he can connect now with this stream.
Yeah,
won't be a problem.
Yeah,
we owe him on that. We owe Hammer, because he was trying to get on with us at one time. So yeah, we gotta get him on too. All right, guys. I'm gonna get the show started, and Dave and I will keep chatting away. But we'll get the 58 watch line going and keep talking. Now, guys, this is again the quality of wrestling here. You know, it's a step above the garage, but we're still kind of. I always say if you want like professional textbook style kind of wrestling that's more on par with what you would expect professional wrestling to be, that's going to all take place, you know, July on, like July Armory card on, all that stuff from that point on. When we got the professional ring, that's when things really took a turn and started getting training from Eddie. Right. So, you know, those two things. So, we're not horrible here, but I'm just saying it's not like perfect, you know, so always remember that. I know the regulars know this. I'm just saying this for anybody that might be new.
This isn't one of our best shows, but it's okay.
Right. It's not like the Group W cable days or the basement. You know, I actually showed basement footage last week on Forward because Ricky wanted to see it and Gizmo and them guys kind of wanted me to bring it in. Oh my gosh. That's the kind of stuff that I want to get up and walk away like Ricky does. Oh boy. And Ricky loved every minute of it. Kid makes me want to puke sometimes. But then again, he's got his own stuff to deal with. I wanted to bring in his promos, you know, those promos he did that are just and he's will not allow me to bring those in anymore. So I can't do the promos. That's the worst for him to watch. I don't have his permission anymore, he says. All right. Let's get on with it, guys.
You know, Ricky, you've been invited into the family. You've got our strap, but we got your footage.
Yeah, I can always dangle that at him and threaten him with that, I guess.
You know, I know you're in Canada. I know you're busy right now, but at some point, I'm sure you're going to see this.
Well, I think he's on vacation, kind of more or less, but he's also going to be working some. He's had a date to work too, and hopefully that'll be an NWF World Title match. We're hoping.
Right.
So we'll see. We don't know yet, or maybe he gets another booking where he can defend it. So, all right, let's get the show going here. I'll add the show on. All right, let me know if the audio's too loud. Not loud enough. Too loud, not loud enough. I mean, guys, just let me know in the comments. I just want to make sure you can hear me and Dave talking. So, well, and by the way, guys, are we sounding normal to you? Am I too loud or is Dave too soft? Are we equal? Let me know that too, because I can't tell with these headphones. This is,
yeah. You know, he's got my voice booming in his ear.
Yeah, it just works differently.
Wayne says that he can hear fine.
Oh, Wayne's in the house.
This sounds great.
Wayne, it's great to see you. Glad you're here. Boy, Wayne.
Thanks, Wayne.
Wayne, you weren't there to hear all my stories with my experience of going back in the ring again. Boy, was that fun. And then getting in there and training with them and stuff. Boy, that was just an experience. I loved it. Loved every minute of it. Bruised my ribs, but that was my fault. They're pretty much back to normal now. But you know how bruised ribs are. When you bruise your ribs, it's like you don't feel it right away until a couple days. So I didn't feel it till I got home. And then for a week and a half, it was rough. But now it's pretty good. Like it's almost back to normal. Yeah, Wayne says that's really cool. You got to get back in the ring. Yeah, and I was able to throw my drop kick. And I don't know if you've seen any of the footage I put up on there. We did it on Forward anyway. We showed some of the footage of that. Me in there training with them, and Nathan even had me train with the adults, which I didn't expect, which was kind of cool. And then I just showed them a few things. I mean, there's not much I can really show them that they haven't really seen, but they appreciate seeing things in a different way.
Right.
Which is kind of what Ricky was saying last week, and being able to link things together differently.
Right.
So yeah, but the guys were great. I mean, everybody treated me like with respect out there. It was so cool. Like I couldn't have had a more better experience than I did going out there. All right, this is oh shoot! You know what I forgot to do, Dave? I forgot to show what's coming up on the network. I'll do that after this. We'll show what's coming up on the video network after the watch along. Okay, get ready? It's kind of exciting news, too, because it's going to be our first Project Starlight. This is something I started doing. We do the national anthem at the beginning of every show.
I see Slick standing there wearing a ref shirt.
And everybody would stand up for this, you know. It was the norm.
Well, at the time, that's what happened before any sporting event.
Oh, yeah. This was back when being patriotic wasn't a political left or right issue.
Right.
It's kind of a shame it's gotten that way now. Yeah, it was great, Wayne. I loved it, though. It was so fun going out there and doing all that. And boy, I'll tell you something, just bumping around in there and training and practice. First of all, A, I know I can still go, which is good to know. And B, the guy who runs the place, he has the bug in my ear to come back and work a match. That's not a good thing. Well, it's good, but it's not good, as that means that, you know, I probably will. But I'll prepare for it. I'll even try to get with the local indie fed here and do a little bit of training with them just to brush up and get rid of the rust.
Invader 2 versus Rockin' Roundabout.
Yeah, Invader 2, and I think the Invaders had made their debut on this taping. Like, this is the second show of the taping.
Right.
Rockin' Roundabout against Invader number 2. Invaders, they were Chad Randall and Terry Block. They were actually best friends, I believe, right, Dave?
Yeah.
At the time. So and they're really odd tag team. Like, Invader 2 is huge and Terry Block's small.
Yep.
But they have singles matches right now. Let's see. Sky Sports says, you don't need to apologize about your early matches. If we wanted to see real wrestling, we could watch Ricky in Ireland. Yeah, I mean, you mean like textbook style quality wrestling.
Yeah.
That's what you mean by real. Yeah, I mean, like what he yeah, this is what he means by that. Like, we come here to watch you guys progressed. This is our favorite channel. Yeah, it's the progression, and that's what Nathan, even the guy who runs NIPW, sees that. He says
right.
people are probably into the progression of it.
Yeah,
So,
and you know, that's the thing. Years ago, we looked back at this as, oh wow, look what we did. You know, some of it sucks, but
right,
we did. And now we're getting other promoters. I mean, we've gotten Hernandez on here, who sees our progression. We've had Nathan see the progression.
And Dave, I just want to point out quick, you notice the camera, it was really blurry. That was just somebody wasn't focusing the camera. I think they got it fixed now. Yeah. But yeah, as you were saying, Dave.
You know, we're getting these promoters from other companies who are currently running, who see that, you know, yes, we may not be textbook perfect.
Well, not now. I mean, we're not even trained yet.
Right. But they see the heart and the passion that we have, and they respect that.
Right. That's why Eddie agreed to train me, is because he was just, can you imagine what he must have thought when he realized that a 16-year-old untrained ran a league and went to the Anoka Armory and had 300 plus fans?
Yeah.
Yeah. So of course he was impressed. And so he wanted not only leech on with us, Dave, and get some of that attraction, but he also wanted to help us.
Right.
And thank God he did that, because we learned some things that we needed to learn from him, for sure.
You know, I mean,
everybody asks Dave, what's the first thing Eddie Sharkey taught me? I've heard this, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Very simple. When me and Dave went there, when me and Steve went to Eddie's camp the very first time when he invited us, because Steve was with me too. Eddie wanted us to work a routine, and we were just on wrestling mat pads. We weren't even in a ring. But we could work, you know, what we could, right? Without any ropes.
Right.
So Steve and I lock up like we always lock up, and we didn't do collar and elbow. We just lock up without doing collar and elbow. And Eddie right away is like, guys, got to collar and elbow. It's the collar and elbow. He corrected us on that immediately. So just little things like that. Little things is what we picked up from Eddie a lot. You know, a lot of what we were doing, Eddie would say like he was kind of surprised that we knew as much as we did. You know.
Right.
And here's the thing, you know, people there's sticklers out there that try to make professional wrestling with a capital P, and you got to be trained with expertise. But, you know, the thing is this is what you got to remember about pro wrestling. Pro wrestling is the act of putting on a staged fight.
Right.
And now, so no matter how you get there or how you do it, you know, you can be critical about it and say, oh, these guys don't know what they're doing. But at the same time, we're just putting on a staged fight. Right? Yeah. Bottom line.
And, you know, here's the thing. We were good enough that we impressed Ed Sharkey, and he wanted to jump in with it.
Yeah.
You know, that's what's important to me.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great I had a great relationship with him for all those years. I mean, he really treated me like an equal. I've always said that. Treated me like I was on his level, even though he was way above me.
Oh, yeah.
But he didn't make me feel that way, you know. And Steve brought an amplifier and that microphone, so we had the kind of like that live house mic, which was kind of neat.
Yep.
Did that at the Fred Moore tapings. There's Chris Irick in the camera view there. That's the one kid right there that I had to fire from the show. I had to kick him out.
Yep.
He was fighting with too many people off camera. That was the biggest problem, you guys, was kids getting in little squabbles and fights off camera. I think somebody asked last week, did we ever have any kids start, or last show they asked if any kids start crying and stomp out of the ring. No, not on camera, but off camera they get into disputes. Nothing to do with the wrestling, just getting into fights, disputes off camera. And so sometimes, and you know, I suspend them after a couple times, but if they still act up, you have to eventually I realize kind of quick, one bad apple will spoil the bunch. So if there's somebody acting up, we got to get rid of them. Somebody causing problems. So what do we got? Sergeant Smash and Tough Tony?
Yep. And that's another person that we owe a show to is Tony.
Yeah, Tough Tony was going to come on as a guest with us and talk about these days, and then we ended up postponing our shows for a month or two, and then I never can seem to get him to come back on, but he's certainly welcome to.
You know, as we've said, all NWF alumni are welcome.
Anybody's welcome, for that matter. Hammer, Carmine, all these guys. I mean, we welcome anybody to come on. As a matter of fact, our guest link now is the same for Forward as it is for Rewind. So, you know, our Forward guests, like Ben Nelson, now that we're on StreamYard, he has the link. Ben Nelson could wind up popping in here. And he says he does want to talk to you one of these times when he's up. I forgot to tell Ben he's got to remember to just use the NWF Forward link. Because I initially set up a Rewind link and a Forward link, but it's the Forward links used for both shows. So if anybody comes on, if anybody wants to come on Rewind, they got to use the NWF Forward link, not the NWF Rewind link, because that doesn't work. I'm going to be doing a new show once a month. I'm going to host the show for NIPW for kind of a monthly with their announcing team, their commentating team, kind of a monthly recap and what's coming up for their promotion. It'll be on their channel. Be kind of fun.
Yeah, okay.
Kind of a monthly show.
I created a monster.
Well, you know, a lot of leagues have that kind of thing. Like a lot of indies do that. It's kind of a neat thing, you know. Gets their current stuff out there and what's happening and what's going on with feud. Kind of piques interest for everybody, you know.
Right.
You know, we're talking about trying to get Canary Kid over here and defend that NWF title in the United States, and I'd love to do that. I even thought of getting him, you know, while he's in Ottawa for the next 6 weeks. I thought, God, but you know, he's not far from Michigan, where Joe Bird is. How much would it cost to get him to Michigan? Maybe I could get Joe to get him on a show, you know, with like Global Flyer Drake. That would be awesome to see that.
Yeah.
And And I'm pretty sure if I covered his airfare that, Joe would probably be, fine with it.
Right.
But the airfare to get from Ottawa to Michigan, even though it's an 8-hour drive, is like $800 round trip.
Ooh.
Yeah, crazy. I don't know why. And that's about what I paid to get to Ireland, for crying out loud. Not much more than that. So, but anyways, maybe we'll work something out. Like when he's on a week break from school or something, we can maybe get him over here somehow and get him on. You know what I'd like to do? I'd like to get him in Minnesota and get up to the Anoka Armory and do a show up there with, like we talked about doing.
Yep.
And have that NWF belt defended once again in Anoka. Wouldn't that be cool?
Oh yeah.
That would bring it all full circle.
Yep.
I know what we could do. I mean, I've got the Indie League to work with over there. I got the contact with Carol. We could definitely get that going. I'm sure we could make that happen.
Yep. We just got to get a hold of Carol and.
Yeah, I forget the guy's name. I know him. I think was it Tony DiNucci?
Yep, he's one of them that's got a promotion here. There's a few different promotions out here.
I think it was his.
Well, and you know Tony from back in your PWA days.
Yeah. Well, he wasn't really around at the time.
Well,
he was, but he wasn't. Not when I was there. I think he came more in the 90s, didn't he? Wayne says AWF. That's Tony's promotion. What's the other guy's name, Wayne? I think there's one that's like Midwest. Is Midwest still around?
Yeah, there's a Midwest around. I'm not sure who runs it. There's a few promotions here in Minnesota.
Crusher Crossen double duty as a ring announcer.
Slickster as a referee.
Yeah, Midwest All-Star Wrestling was what Wayne's saying.
Yep.
So just so everybody understands, AWF, Wayne says, that's Tony's promotion.
Yep.
And then these Midwest All-Star Wrestling, but I don't know who runs it, though. But there was one of these guys that was actually wanted to do the Anoka Armory. So that whatever that promotion is, Carol knows him. That would be the one we would try to get with to do an Anoka Armory thing, because they actually wanted to go into the Armory. And boy, this would all make sense now if I can get whoever the NWF champion is over for it.
Yep.
Mike Sanger, actually, the guy there in the blue, he was in amateur wrestling in school. One of our guys that were actually in wrestling in high school or junior high. So he's got the wrestling singlet that he's kind of wearing that doesn't have the straps on, but he's wearing it with the straps down. Going against Jason Crossen as Rattlesnake Jake, who had no amateur abilities.
Yep.
Totally opposite. Sports Tech 117 says, Crusher, your matches are great for little kids to watch. I think they can relate more to NWF than the fake backyard matches. Need to get more younger viewers to see your channel. Yeah, younger viewers could definitely relate better. I also think that guys that are like fans of indie wrestling can also relate because they can see the passion side of this.
Right.
The ones that can't relate to us are the purists. But they're kind of few and far between now. They're not as many as they used to be.
Right.
Purists are the fans that think that it has to be polished with a capital P all the way around. Don't want to tolerate anything less. Sky Sports says, Sean, did any of the younger wrestlers see your channel when you were in Ireland? If so, what did they think? Actually, they did. When I was done with the match, Rafi and I went out. We all kind of went out and intermingled with the fans, and all the little kids, most of whom are in the training, they're junior trainees. A lot of them, but not all of them, but most of them. But they all came up to me and said they knew me, they recognized me from the podcast. They do, and they said, we watch your podcast all the time. They said, and they want to know. They go, are you really from America? I said, yep, I sure am. That was a big deal to them. They've never really they don't see a lot of people from America, so it's kind of cool for them, little kids. And I asked the kids, I said, guys, do you think I'm being, because they're all up kind of in a group in the ring, all talking to me, and I said, guys, am I being too hard on Ricky? Am I being too hard on the Canary Kid? Do you think? And they said, no, you're not being hard enough.
Yeah, I just saw Eric try and take a shot at.
Yeah, he had a problem. He had to, what's this? Wayne says Tony held an event in the Fred Moore gym years ago. Interesting, yeah. It probably is Tony. I'd have to look at my chats with Carol to see the guy's name again. Go back and look at my chats, but yeah, I mean, the problem is getting a hold of somebody at the Armory. You know how it is, Dave. It's like you can't even get in there, and
you got to buzz your way in. You got to try and catch somebody when they're there.
We got to figure out what they need. I'm sure they need an insurance policy now, an umbrella policy. We got to figure out what that costs. So there's things we'd have to work out, but it's all doable.
Right.
Let's see if we can get things a little organized more than we have been.
Didn't recognize the voice, kind of.
That's Steve Engstrom.
Oh, okay. I was wondering if that was him.
Yeah. Steve Engstrom commentating right now. So as you can see, all the wrestlers, when you're not wrestling, you're sitting in front in the chairs and you're part of the studio audience.
Yep.
Stay tuned. Some pretty good stuff here.
Mike was all right. His heart wasn't in it to do pro wrestling. He was more of an amateur wrestler.
Right.
So he only lasted a few shows. He's like kind of those one and dones, but. Rattlesnake Jake, huh? Jason was so talented with this character.
Using the ace wrap as a cast. Huh?
The ace wrap as a cast, yeah. Yeah, Fred Moore Junior High. Oh, by the way, guys, so I was telling you, this is not Project Starlight yet, but when I show the preview of what's coming up on the network next month, it'll be the 1st of July. It's going to be our first total restoration with Project Starlight. Wait till you see the quality. Man.
The light heavyweight championship?
Oh, it's the lightweight tag team championship. There's still cardboard belts. We don't have the good ones yet. Yeah. We have the nice belts that Steve did here shortly. Steve is starting to make all those belts right about now. All the ones you see behind me. This is the Super Ds. I mean, they were everybody liked the Super Ds. They were so popular on our Armory cards. Got the biggest pop of anybody. Two identical blonde-haired 10-year-old twins. How can you not like them?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, they could never have been heels. There's no way. Although they were in the show, in the beginning they were heels, but I mean, like once they got into the Armory and we got the pops and stuff that they get, there's just everybody liked them.
Right.
And at this point in time, the Super Ds are really coming along. Like they really develop quite well. Like they're really good at the moves. And remember, this isn't a very forgiving ring, so you're not going to see big body slams and suplexes by these little guys. I mean, they're kind of a little timid on some of this stuff with this ring. But once we got the professional ring a few months later here, it really things really took a change.
Ran out the rope, line out the top rope. They had no.
See, we don't even know how to hit the ropes right on some of this stuff. I can nitpick it so bad. Jesus. I got to stop that. Todd and Trey were fearless. They go off the top rope. They go off the second rope. They do it looks like they're going to maybe do a double drop kick. Yeah, maybe.
It looks like they're going for the double clothesline, double drop kick.
They got really good with that double drop kick. You know, remember, 10 years old and they're doing this double drop kicks and shit. That's pretty good. Pretty good for them.
Yep.
Let's see. Sports Talk 117 says, Crusher, I like all the different shirts you wear each event. I must say, you were in style for back then. You mean back in the show here? Yeah, I guess. Yeah, maybe I had that blue ring jacket. That was my ring jacket for a long time. I used that ring jacket for most of all of 86 and into 87.
Yep. Well, I think you were even using that when you went to work for Eddie.
I did, although the one with Eddie, there was a different one. I still have that jacket I wore with Eddie. That's more of a silk blue jacket. I still have it.
Oh, okay.
Don't know if it'll fit anymore, but I still have that jacket. How's the stream going, guys? Is it going smooth? Playing smooth? Any glitches in the video? Just curious, because we don't host these anymore on the server. I have to stream them locally, so for my computer. So I'm always curious how it's coming across.
We are constantly going, people getting in the ring, getting back out. Another drop kick connected right to the upper part of the chest.
It looks like it's smooth, at least from what I can see.
Right.
And we have a winner for the title and new World Tag Team Champions.
The Super D's, get the belts.
The Super D's. Let's go up to the ring.
Whoa, cameraman, what are you doing?
Yeah, we don't want to see the lights.
All right, they're saying the video looks like it's playing fine.
Yep.
So everybody's asking too, what am I going to do with Project Starlight with the old stuff that I already restored? Well, everything going forward is going to be restored with Project Starlight, and then when I get done with the catalog, I'll go back and restore the other stuff again properly. That's already been restored.
Forget the Slickster.
I mean, this is like a night and day difference, you guys, as far as how Project Starlight restoration, but it takes forever. It takes me almost a week to do one show, nonstop. Computers running nonstop, doing the recreating the files. It's crazy.
Is that hot stuff?
What's that?
Is that hot stuff, Ruffin? I thought I saw Matt's face.
Oh, I don't think Matt was here on this show. I don't think Kid Kelsey was at this taping. Well, Ryan was there. Yeah, Kelsey has to be here.
Yeah, I swear that's Kelsey Ruffin.
No, that's Troy Otto. I seen him. That's Bulldog Butcher. Yeah, that's Butcher.
Oh, okay. Yeah, now that I saw the face.
See, the fans are starting to cheer from even in our studio audience. I wish it would have been more. I wish you would have put more time into doing promos.
Right.
Todd and Troy Dazowski. The Super D's. Very popular.
Right up until the end.
Yep. And very good. Went on to become professional soccer players. For like 15, 16 years they played.
Yep. I believe Ring of Honor for both of them.
Yeah, they're in the Milwaukee Wave Ring of Honor in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Let's see. Oh, this is the debut of the Barbarians. They weren't even called the Barbarians yet. Just Thundar and Conan.
Yep.
Now they're cousins.
Yep.
Slick Steenerson and the Eye, Chris Eyrick. Steenerson said out of him, the Fly took the Eye's place when we had to kick the Eye out.
Yep.
And Steenerson said of all his tag team partners, Eirik was his favorite. Like, he really worked the part well. He just was like a hard to handle off the show.
Right.
Getting in fights with everybody and stuff. Sports Talk says, Dave, I have never seen you do a promo in all the time we watched. Did you do any promos?
Well, of course I've done promos. It's just...
Dave wasn't the best talker, though, back in those days. Like, he did a few interviews, but it's like a lot of us weren't, though. We're not really good promo people. Look at that one with the Super Ds just now. It was horrible.
I was better on the mic than Invader 1.
Yeah. Dave was just slow. Just kind of slow talking. You know, and sometimes the announcers would cut him off before he'd even be finished with the sentence. Remember?
Yep.
Yeah. Steenerson was so talented. Thandar was too. Thandar and Conan are very talented guys. The only one that's not talented here is Eirik. He just... I hate saying that, but he wasn't. He has a great character, had a great personality. You know, for his being a heel, but he was just horrible at the what he did in the ring. Wasn't the best.
Well, it looks like we got people double teaming up here.
Jerry, of course, has a wrestling singlet, so he's... I think Conan is Jerry. I think he might have done some amateur wrestling too back in the day.
Oh, it wouldn't surprise me. I mean...
See, I doesn't sell very well for Conan. A lot of guys would get mad at him for
no selling.
Well, not only that, but just his attitude. Like, Eirik would just get into arguments with everybody. It's like, I remember that.
I don't know where Thunder picked this guy up, but he looks like,
Not the best bumper.
The thing about Tim and Jerry, though, you didn't sell for them, they would make you stop.
Yep, that's just what Tim is going to do right now. That was a nice hard body slam, as you've seen.
Oh, yeah.
On a ring that doesn't give. The heck's Troy doing popping balloons? Oh, I'm not going against Tokyo Terror on this one, huh?
And we've seen a complete clothesline from the Rock and Roller. He's getting up on the second.
I think this match is
Small mistake there.
It's for the national. Oh, it looks like we edited it. It was a glitch in the tape there.
Yep. Probably a commercial break or something.
Yeah. There's Tokyo Terror right there. Peter Wynn. Wayne, you know Peter. Our new Peter back in the day. Yeah, I guess I'm going against Peter then today. Tokyo Terror. I was wondering who I was having a match with today on this one.
Official time now is 4 minutes and 40 seconds. This is going to be one heck of a decision. The referee is out cold.
Kind of funny. Steenerson and the U.S. Enfocers, they were heels, but they were, you know, supporting the flag.
Right.
If you notice, we're stealing the AWA ESPN's music.
You know, until Troy went to it's Adrian Adonis mode.
Yeah, this is one of those times, and this is a "We'll Be Right Back" promo, but I'm working there with Ref Ryan, doing veal throws all wrong. We're not doing it right. This is another thing Eddie corrected us on. Oh man, I could write a book on that. So if I think about it. Well, at least Chad tucked that ref shirt in.
We probably said something to him before he got in the ring.
I was telling Ricky how I used to practice my dropkick by having somebody hold a big punching bag.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you can see one hanging here in the dungeon. There's a big punching bag because this is boxing setup.
Yep.
And that's the kind of punching bag I'm talking about that I would practice the dropkick on. I never did it here, but I did that in like Eddie's gym. There's one. There's the national title, Dave.
Oh,
Steve just made the belt for us, I think.
We're here with Corporal Crossen.
Nice looking belt.
Bulldog the Butcher. This is going to be one match you ain't going to want to miss.
I like our version better, though.
Yeah. Having it properly restored. Hang on a second, Dave. Be right back.
Alrighty.
You have to hold the fort over.
Lawson throwing the hat out of the ring. You know, like we've said before, this ring was a brutal ring to wrestle.
One part of a scorpion move.
You know, anybody who survived this era was
kick into the chest. Crossen's down.
Was meant to be in the company.
Goes for the pinfall. Looks like shoulders up. Referee getting beating on Corporal Crossen to get that shoulder down. Like I said, this man will do it almost extremely anything. Just
no, I had forgotten that Jason had the national title.
Yeah, because the reason is,
so please stay tuned each week, every Tuesday and Thursday.
I'm trying to think who he got it from. Like,
and don't forget, once each month,
I think because Steve won the world tag team titles. I don't know. At one point, Mr. X had it and had to forfeit it up because he won. We didn't allow people to have more than one belt. So if you wanted one belt, you'd have to give up one or the other. I think Steve, Mr. X2 won the world tag title, so he had to give up the national title then. Let's see. Gizmo says, I love this view of the stage. It shows all other wrestlers in the audience. You can see they were having a lot of fun just watching. Did any physical activities happen in the audience during the show? Did any physical activities? What do you mean by physical activities, Gizmo? Explain that. Like, did any physical activities happen in the audience during the show? You gotta clarify that. See what he says.
You're saying stuff from the ring spilling over into the audience.
Well, you know, if that's what he means. No, not really. I don't ever remember anybody in the audience getting involved with a match.
Well, no, I think he means like if there was tensions between wrestlers after a match.
Oh no, nothing like that. No. Not in the studio audience. Not any fights or fooling around. Not in the studio audience. However, when the camera was off and we were getting ready, preparing, tearing down over, that's when stuff sometimes happened. Like with Iric, he'd get in fights and arguments and squabbles with some of the other kids, and I come to realize that he just wasn't getting along with anybody. Like everybody had problems with Chris Iric. That's when I had to make a decision. Chris, you're not working out. We're gonna have you not be a part of it anymore. There's only a handful of times I had to have that kind of conversation. Everybody was always welcomed. But not in that
Not a real flattering picture of Jason.
No, it ain't. It's not. Corporal Crossen. Yeah, Jason's eventually going to have to give up all these wrestling characters because his mom's going to say, no more wrestling for you. She's afraid he's going to get hurt. Jason didn't have the heart to tell us. So he always made up excuses why he couldn't wrestle back in the day.
Now, Troy was not one of the more popular wrestlers in the ring.
Talking about Bulldog?
Yeah.
Well, he was just a brawler.
Yeah.
Wasn't very technical or anything like that.
Well, neither was Eyes.
I like the character though, especially when Bulldog Butcher, this guy right here, when he came on the show in '85, he had the crew cut, so he looked like a Russian.
Right.
There's Steve Engstrom right there. Must be announcing because it must be my match with Tokyo.
No, I thought I saw you with him. Nope.
Oh yeah, Tokyo, Japan.
Yep.
Coming out with the Russian destroyers, one of them anyway. Peter was great to work with in the ring. He was athletic. He was easy. He was super easy to work with. I enjoyed matches with Peter.
I don't think I ever got the chance to get in the ring with him.
I don't know why we're laughing at each other, breaking character a little bit. He and I, kind of like Ben and Ricky.
Yep.
Hello, this is Bill Wallison.
Bill Wallison. That's a fake name.
This should be a very exciting match. Yes, indeed. The Belgian
Chris Irick reffing. Got the ref shirt tucked in, looking appropriate.
Yep.
Yep.
We're here. We're at
Eventually, I go to all adult refs. Remember? I think it was after the July card, starting on the July Armory card.
As you can see, capacity crowd here watching.
Of course, one of those adult refs was more like a kid.
Yeah.
Brutus Markov in the Tokyo's corner.
Camera needs to zoom it out. We zoomed in a little too much here. I don't know who's on camera here. It's not the Super Ds. They're usually the ones that are going all over the place, but I see them in the audience.
Looks to be in great shape, though. You have to yes, that I do. His training consisting of very vigorous workouts and in the martial arts. Yes. I do understand words.
Kind of a flip.
A flip by the Tokyo Terror. Crusher Crossen seems to be hurt right now. Ooh, a good right hand by Crusher Crossen, an elbow to the back. To the back of Tokyo. What's this?
Neck breaker.
It's a neck
Somewhat.
breaker.
A little sloppy, but it was a neck breaker.
What's this, Crusher on the top rope? No.
My body slammed off the top rope, but it's pretty daring on this ring.
Yeah.
Now you see the footage got changed because what happened is our main camera somehow got stopped recording, and luckily Steve was recording it with his VCR too, with the feed. So I was able to get Steve's VCR copy of this. He was recording it from the camera as well. So I was able to get the footage. It was like a backup.
Yep.
So that kind of worked out. Otherwise, I wouldn't have had any more of this match. It's not quite as good of audio and stuff. A little bit worse, but at least we still can see it.
Great equipment.
Yes, Sports Talk. They say, hey, Crusher, was that a closed fist during this match? Yes, I was probably the biggest violator of closed fists. I'm not going to lie. I was telling Ricky that last week. Here I am getting on them guys about it, and yet I did enough closed fists to kill a horse. But then again, if you think about it, Dave, closed fists always happened back in old school, didn't they?
Yep.
That wasn't like a... Yeah, you did close fists quite a bit, actually. Now that I think about it, we weren't the only one. That was happening everywhere. Refs would always warn you on it, though. I don't think anybody ever get disqualified over it, though.
Not that I remember.
Yeah. I know Trey Otto. That was his famous lines: "No closed fists," when he was reffing. Well, put the brakes on.
Oh,
Here goes Peter. Peter would sell for you too. If you gave him stuff, he would sell for like if you could. He just like I said, when Peter was in the first Armory card, he didn't have Steve Owens wasn't the best opponent for him to work with, so he didn't give him anything to sell for. But if with me, I know what I can do with Peter. Like I can definitely work with him. And then he would sell for me, no problem. But you got to give him stuff to sell, and Steve just wasn't really giving him anything in that Anoka Armory deal.
Yeah. Crusher getting notified by work.
Yeah, and the phone's downstairs. It only goes off for like 4 rings. But yeah, Peter was like, here comes that infamous pile driver. Well, kind of. I didn't do it. I just did a kind of a power bomb before a power bomb existed. But it wasn't really a power bomb either. It was just kind of a messed up forward pile driver. Oh, Peter got the nunchucks. That's going to be a disqualification, Peter. It should be a DQ.
Well, he also went after the refs, so.
There it is. See, back in these days, when you did something like that, you got disqualified. It's funny how that never happens anymore, right?
Oh, no kidding. I just saw a match here a couple weeks ago where the ref got.
Look at this. I'm putting the figure 4 clock on Peter, even though the match is over. Crusher played by the rules. What are you talking about?
No, I'm saying I remember a match not too long ago where the ref got.
Oh, no, I'm not talking to you, Dave. I was just saying the fact that I put a figure 4 on Peter after the bell was being rung. Yeah, I know. That's like... Peter and I think our first match was better than this one. This is all right, though. It wasn't horrible, but...
That couldn't have been the pile driver that put Peter out, because I was at the show that with pile driver that put Peter out.
Yeah, no, that's going to be their third. I wrestled Peter 3 times, and that was going to be the third time when that happened. Mr. X.
The infamous half spin.
Mike Sanger, roughing for us.
Was Eric picking on one of the D's?
Yeah. Yeah, back when Mr. X didn't mess up the Mr. X mask.
Yep.
And ended up dyeing it blue, and it looked horrible. I said, Steve, why'd you do that? And he says, I can fix it. I'll get it back. And he tried bleaching it back to white, and it turned out pink. So it went from bad to worse. Yeah. Brutus and Boris Markov.
Was that the 6-man trophy that they're carrying?
Yep, 6-man tag team trophy. They won it at the very first Fred Moore taping. You know what I was telling Ricky what I want to do if I get back in the ring again over there in Ireland?
Right.
I want to, they like to do British Chain. So I said I want them to do British Chain with me, and I'll counter with American amateur grappling, amateur wrestling.
Right.
I know a bit. So I can counter with that. And that would be a cool contrast, right? British chain against American grappling.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of a neat little thing to see. It's been done, but I think that I always think it's cool when you see that.
Well, you look at Billy Robinson.
Right.
The crowd picks up.
Crusher. Going. Get him going.
Uh-oh, Crusher's going to check on something.
Gosh, it's about time that crowd.
They got him in the corner.
Oh, he told me to get the crowd going.
Mm.
See, that's like we have to remind the kids, you're the crowd, you got to cheer.
On the half of the 2/3 of the Russian
I don't remember, is this the main event for this show?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Oh, we're into the first minute of this match.
It might be.
The referee backs Mr. X.
Ticket info. So what happened here is we already we didn't know when we did the taping, but we now know when we edited it a week later that we were going to the Anoka Armory.
Right.
That's why there's ticket info now. It's all about ticket info for May 9th.
Oh, and he tags with Boris. Get the
So yeah, that's when I made the executive decision. We're going to the Anoka Armory, guys.
Yep.
What are they doing in there?
And Jason was concerned. He didn't think we were ready.
Oh, he's got fleas and he smells too.
Pretty good idea.
Wanted the wrestling to get better.
Now, whose number was the ticket info number?
He'd probably lose there.
That's my home number. And 427-6939, that's Jason Klaasen's number.
What he's
Oh,
doing
okay.
in the match.
Yep.
He's taking his head back.
Don't ask me how I can remember that, but
Pencil neck. Oh, it looks spectacular.
hang on a second. I'm watching these dogs right now, Dave. Hang on one second.
Okay.
Oh, he whips Mr.
Sorry, guys.
Two into the rope.
Dogs are being naughty. Hang on.
Throws fists right into
Oh, when aren't animals naughty?
Bet she was out of breath there. Oh, hey, they're in the ropes.
I know how it goes. I've got a few pets myself.
American Massacre 2, that's the wrong corner to be in.
This match is still up in the air, folks.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Yeah, I knew with the show number that we were getting pretty close to the debut of Dixie Day.
It's been 2 minutes into the match, and this has been quite a match. Look out, Mr. X2 and Mr. X are working over. Oh, that was a neck breaker into the ropes. Land. Now he's getting up, rubbing his throat. Mr. X whips him against the ropes. Oh, it's a karate chop right into the back of the head. Bruce comes in. Oh, Mr. X.
All right, I'm back.
That's going to have quite a headache tonight.
So yeah, this one at least I didn't. Sometimes with Mr. X matches, I always edited them down for some reason. This one at least I didn't edit it down. By the looks of it, it's still all here.
Got some back in the corner. They're working.
We don't got much left on this show. We're at
Can't do it. They knocked the ref down. The ref gets up.
we're almost to the end.
Right now, here comes
So yeah, this must have been the main event.
3 of them are in the ring. All of them.
Yeah, sports talk, keeping track of Crusher is a tough gig.
The ref was checking out.
Oh, I see.
This has been quite.
Dave, you have enough problems watching over Crusher.
You are watching the best.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yep.
The NWF. Here he comes in the ring. It's the count of 3. Mr. X and Mr. X2. Retain the heavyweight.
And that's the original Mr. X2. That's Jason Annenson. He
Oh.
only wrestled in a mask. You never seen him wrestle outside of a mask. I think he's the only masked wrestler we ever had that was a masked wrestler. Well, Dr. Dredd too.
Yeah.
And Silverhawk. Those Dry Dock days though.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't remember Silverhawk.
Yeah. Wait a minute. There's still more left. There might be another match yet. Let's see. See what's coming up here. There's not much left though. If whatever's next ain't gonna be very long.
No.
Let's see what we got here.
For Crusher, what was the date for this show?
It was March of '86. I just don't remember the actual date.
Right.
I don't have my calendar handy. But it was in March.
Because I was saying while you were gone, I knew with the show number that it was pretty close to when I was debuted.
It was either the end of February or the beginning of March. I think it was March, though. No, there was not any reason in particular. It's just we wanted a Mr. X2 character, and so Jason said, "I'll do it." You know, he was coming into the show, and he wanted it was going to be a ninja kind of character, but then we need a Mr. X2, so that's why it became Mr. X2: The American Massacre. There's a lot of karate stuff.
Yeah.
Because he knew karate, so he did a lot of martial arts in his matches. It's pretty cool that way.
Are those the maroon belts, or?
Yeah, those are the maroon belts. They don't have side plates yet, just the front plates. Oh, I guess that was it. It was just an interview.
Yep.
Now remember, I got to play the promo for what's coming up on the network next, so you guys can see the restoration. Just look at the quality. Wait till you see this, and as far as the quality goes of the restoration, I think it was really nice. It's so much better than it was before.
Right.
I think. Yeah, you'll have to tell me what you think when we watch the promo. After we watch it.
Your producer, Sean Crossen.
Yeah, most of this footage is from the garage that we're showing. Notice I put AWA agent Roy Nelson because I was in contact with him.
Right.
So yeah, I was always talking to him.
Matt Kelsey was the promoter at the time, huh?
Yeah. Promoter Matt Kelsey. Technically, this wasn't a Group W cable production, like I say. And Scott, when he's seen us doing this, he would put black video over all this and put Sean Crossen production, because we can't say it's a Group W cable production. That's how much of a stickler Tronson was and stupid stuff. I mean, who cares? Like, do you think Group W is going to really care that we're saying Group W cable production?
I mean, you're advertising their cable company.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so before I forget, I'm going to go ahead and play that promo of what's coming up on the network next so you guys can see what's coming up. And then we'll talk about it. Now, remember, this is Project Starlight now. This is the first restoration. Like this show took about a week to restore. And every show going forward will take about a week to restore. But it's worth it because I think the quality is so much better. So let's take a look. This is a dry dock taping. So let's see what you guys think of this. All right, here we go.
Yeah.
Oh, look at this. Is he crazy?
He's got to be nuts.
He's taking him into the ropes right now. Oh. 2, 3. Who Russian flag.
Well, what else?
He's going to go for an airplane spin again. We saw this last week.
That's Pitt's specialty.
And he,
boom!
Man.
I'll tell you, Chris Logan, like I said, Jeff, I'm happy to be working with him in the ring the other day, and I think he's going to be something to be reckoned with. A little rusty, but he's getting there. Look at that shot.
We got some great flying drop kick. Actually, he just stood still and let him have it.
And it's the end
For
against
the
the
NWF. Oh, look at that. Oh. 3 minutes remain in the match, ladies and gentlemen. 3 minutes. He's got him in a bear hug.
This body is insured by Lloyd's of London. You see what he tried to do to me, and that's what chumps get.
And of course, yeah. Despite that, we still got our loyal fans here at the dry dock. A lot of...
Fire no!
Oh! That's it. That's his finishing maneuver. That's it. Oh. Off with action.
Action.
Step there.
February 16th. Academy here live.
Uh-oh, we're getting out of control.
And
Have some respect.
have quite a bit of respect for each other. I'm having a little difficulty with my...
To be on the
Well, what we're looking at here, actually, which is very surprising, is a very, very scientific match.
Now he drops the chain.
Suplex. Beautiful suplex. Well, definitely. Crusher Crossen has never, as far as I know, had a weight and size advantage in wrestling. But he's never had to count on that.
But you gotta watch. I think Crusher Crossen split open.
Yes, he is.
He's split open big.
He's busted
my,
open. Crusher Crossen is busted open. 30 seconds.
Now Dread backs the bear into the ropes, throws him in. Drop the chain. I don't know what's going on. No, he's
Got him up for the Russian backbreaker.
Look at the back.
Just seeing that Russian bear in there makes me want to puke. I mean, the guy would not sell for it, dude.
Yeah.
But yeah, I actually that's a little bit of juice there, a little color. Didn't that wasn't the one I messed up on though when I did it there.
Oh, I was going to ask you about that.
No, it was the next show that happened. But yeah, the rush I hated. Ernie wasn't bad. It was his partner. I just hated being in the ring with that guy.
Oh, Ernie's a good guy. I mean,
yeah, Ernie was at least Ernie would sell for you, but this bear wouldn't do shit.
well, I mean, even on a personal level, Ernie was a good guy. I mean,
Yeah, he was a very good guy. Had no problems with Dirty Ernie.
I mean, when I lived out in South Dakota, he would come out once a year and put on a wrestling show out there, and he'd always make sure that between him and the owner of the venue, they'd always make sure that my kids got to meet all the wrestlers. And
Yeah. Yeah, Ernie was a good guy. He was kind of a hillbilly mentality.
yeah,
Kind of almost like the gimmick, this the look. But he was a good guy though. He had a bigger heart than he did anything else for everybody. Like back when we were going to go on to local origination wanted us to move the wrestling show to LO to advertise, so we can advertise and actually get revenue. But if we did that, LO has their own crew. So our crew, my crew, Greg Bushman and Scott Dotzler would be done and would be using LO's crew. Well, Bushman and Dotzler were kind of bummed out because they loved doing it, and Ernie, the heart that he had, he just couldn't see doing that, so he nixed the whole thing. Said we're not going to go to LO, we're going to stay on public access. And that I see why Ernie did it. He was trying to be look out for the guys, the crew, my crew. But it was a mistake, and I still say it to this day, we should have went to LO. We would have had some revenue coming in for a change.
right.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point in time, our only revenue coming in was ticket sales at the Armory shows.
And at the dry dock. And where that money went, I don't know. Again, I wasn't doing this for the money. So once I sold the league to Ernie, he took care of all that stuff. All I did was just oversee the television production. That's why the crew was my crew.
Right.
And that's why I worked out the whole deal to go to LO. So I was trying to grow the league with Ernie, and that was the plan. And we were that popular by 88. The NWF Wrestling was a real popular show, and they knew it. Local origination knew it. That's why they wanted us on there. So, that would have been huge for us, to be over on the LO channel. Because then we could get advertisers, we could split the ad revenue with the cable company, and there would be money coming in,
Right.
So that would have been good. This is kind of the direction we would have went, guys, if I would have just kept running it. Like if I was in charge, that would have happened.
Right.
Yeah, and who knows where we would have went from there? Maybe we would have went over to regional channel and be across the whole metro, without having to syndicate to all the different cable companies.
I see a comment from Sports Talk.
Oh, let me get over there. I was on the wrong thing. So Sports Talk says, who was the crowd's favorite wrestlers on the shows and at the Armory? Well,
he said one of them.
Right. The Super Ds were the most popular for sure because they got the biggest crowd applause every time they came out. They got the biggest pop. I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I was pretty popular too.
Right.
But I think the Super Ds were more popular, honestly. And then, you know, and as far as the shows go, I don't know. All the guys are. I was always well liked. You know, I mean, nobody. I don't. Unless I was being a heel, I was always getting cheered. Same can't be said for Kelsey. You know, he's my tag team partner and everything, and supposed to be a baby face with me, but he would get booed by half the crowd all the time.
Well, you know,
of our studio crowd.
Right. He was kind of your right-hand man, so I think some of the guys took exception to that. So. That
and Kelsey also, you know, was part of me getting when we all got all the championships. We kept getting all the belts, and so the guys aren't going to get on my case, but they're going to take it out on Matt.
Right.
So it's part of it too.
And you know, another popular team was Barbarians.
Yeah, Thandar and Conan, they were very popular as well. And yeah. The guys who were the biggest heels for us in this time period, Pretty Boy Taylor, probably the biggest heel at this point.
Yeah.
You know, Steve Engstrom, his character.
Well, I think in NWF history, it'll be Pretty Boy and Larry are the biggest heels for our company.
You're talking about like actual heat.
Yeah.
But like actual heels, Steenerson was a good heel.
Oh, Steenerson was awesome. I mean,
yeah, Troy was great. Troy would do this funny thing. So like we're in Dayton and Troy's wrestling Kelsey, and he did this little thing with a rope. So what he did is he'd have Kelsey in like a headlock, and he'd have his arm. I got to get the right arm. He had his arm all covered on his neck, and he'd take that rope and he'd show the camera and he'd get it around his neck, and he'd be choking Kelsey. And Kelsey can't breathe. He's choking. Well, he's not really choking, but he's this for this thing, right? And then Steenerson's like laughing. He's laughing on the camera, and he knows like, and look at Steenerson. He's laughing it up. He's got a rope in there. He's like, they're trying to say it. And then when the rep would come, he'd take that rope and he'd put it in the tights. I've got a rope. I got a rope. Then he'd take it out again and do it again. Troy was so good with like things like that. He was so good at being a heel.
I honestly believe if Troy would have stuck with it, we'd be seeing him up in the big, you know, in the big companies.
I always said that Troy was, you know, when I did PWA in the end, I knew I was living in Wisconsin. It was very difficult for me to get back there all the time. And so it's one of the reasons why Eddie wanted to just part ways, because I couldn't make it all the time. And, but in those days, and towards the end of my PWA run, I was just really there to put Troy over. I was doing it for him. And I always said that Troy had what I didn't have, and that was size. He was big enough. And he was definitely talented enough.
Oh, without a doubt.
And I really thought that he was going to go. And I honestly think he would have if he didn't meet Angie. Because once he met Angie, everything changed.
Yeah.
Troy's priorities completely changed, and he quickly had a kid, and his life priorities just took over for him. So, but yeah, Troy was really, really good, you know. But otherwise, like other people that were really, you know, the Invaders were popular.
Yeah,
they were pretty, you know, well over. They always got cheered.
Jake and I got some heat when we beat them.
Yeah, and you know, so, but like another heel, Mr. Macho, what a good heel he was. And, you know, yeah, he was a great heel. And, you know, for me, you know, like when Ace came on a while back, Dave, on Forward, you know, I know you've seen parts of it, but he had mentioned how, like, you know, so many of us owe you such a great amount of, you know, for what you did providing this for us, Crusher, not just the fans, but all of us.
Right.
And you know what, though? I look at them and say the same thing. Yeah, thank God you guys came on the show and was part of it. Could never do it without the wrestlers. I've always said, I preach that in the documentary, and I still preach it today. we needed I needed all you guys.
Yeah. I mean, even the ones that weren't that great, like me.
I didn't care. That's the other thing, guys. Everybody that's out there that's going to judge us for what you just seen with a fine tooth comb. My mentality back then is I just wanted a platform for anybody that wanted to be on the show that was a kid in the right age bracket to be a part of it.
Right.
I didn't care if you were good or not. Maybe that was a mistake. I don't know. But at the time, that was the rule. I didn't care. I just want you to have the opportunity to be on the show.
Right.
Because I know the feeling. I know what it's like when you want to be a part of it. So I'm not gonna shut that out of anybody just because you're not good.
Right. I mean, you think about it. Yeah, you had to put up with me that wasn't that good. But through me, you got the Irish Terror. You got Terry.
Well, but more than that, I had somebody that was committed to show up whenever they could.
Right. I mean, the only time I didn't show up for a show is if I was out of state visiting my dad.
Yeah, I mean, that was, So for me, it was a big family of everybody, and they were, Matt said it many times, like a lot of them had other sports and stuff they did. Like Matt was in hockey, he was in tennis. Super D's were in soccer, they were in tennis as well. Ace, big time hockey player. So they all had these other sports. John Hoffman, Golden Gloves boxing. In addition to the, so they would come to the shows and stuff. But for me, this was all I had. And like, I couldn't, people have asked me, did you ever go into amateur wrestling or anything else? I couldn't. I had no time for that.
Right. I mean,
there's just no time.
Pulling back the curtain a little bit, back in the 80s, the NWF was your life.
Yeah. 24/7, you guys. 24/7.
And being real about it, even nowadays, once we got this podcast up and going, the NWF is your life. I mean,
it's definitely my hobby. I mean, and I enjoy it. And and I really enjoy making new friends, like the Ireland guys. They're new friends in my life, and I enjoy that. And it's part of the. I never thought I'd be back in a wrestling ring again, Dave. I really there came a point where I thought there's just no way.
Right.
And here it happened a few weeks ago, and I was in the ring reffing a match, a main event match.
Right.
For the championship, for our championship.
And that's one thing I want to put out to people. Yes, our wrestling wasn't that great. But you look at it, a promoter thinks highly enough of what we've done and how we kind of showcase his company that he put our title over his own junior heavyweight title on a card.
Yeah, he made us the main event. And the reason is because he said we earned it. And all the buildup, all the preparation that me, Ricky, and Ben did with all the podcasts and everything and really building that up, See, we got a comment coming in.
I can answer this one. I know you well enough to know the answer to this one.
Crusher, did you have time for a girlfriend back then, or did the wrestling take up all your time?
Okay. Cross out that girlfriend part. Wrestling took up his life.
Yeah. And I wasn't much of a ladies' man either in those days. I always felt self-conscious. Like I felt like I was always judged. Like I wasn't attractive enough or whatever. I was very self-conscious as a teenager. Hormones were crazy with me.
Right.
So, and for me, I always, like, I think I said this before, like there was I don't know if I have it handy, but I had a girl at PWA make me this really nice Crusher niched thing when I was, in the PWA. It said Crusher, and she handmade it for me. Her name was Mabel White, and I knew her for a long time, but she wasn't a looker. She wasn't attractive, and I was at that time and that age, I was all about the figure. You had to
Right.
have, and I'm thinking to myself now that I'm older, I'm like, what a mistake that was. She was probably a really good-hearted person and meant well. And I was just being all an 18-year-old, 19-year-old way of thinking.
Right.
Yeah, it's funny how you get wiser when you get older with that kind of stuff. But you know, she really, I mean, and I knew she liked me, but because she didn't fit my image.
Right.
So yeah,
Well,
I was too judgmental.
And if I'm thinking of the right person, her friend also kind of had a bit of a thing for you and a bit of a thing for Troy.
Yeah, Don.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, these guys, but these would be like, these girls were like the groupies of a band for the wrestling. They followed us everywhere in all the different shows we did with Eddie and that. They were always there at George's. Yeah, they were groupies, kind of like.
And you got to admit, they also kind of became friends.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, it was Don that introduced Troy to his current wife.
Yeah, it was. And, you know, so look at how life change, you know, can take a turn like that. And so, but yeah, you know, so back to his original question though, like, I didn't, it was, first of all, I didn't really have time. I wouldn't be able to give attention. I mean, even if I did have a girlfriend, they'd be so mad with me with all the time I put into this wrestling, that would never work. And I wasn't, you know, Ricky's always said he's not a ladies' man, and I wasn't either in those days. Just wasn't for whatever reason. You know, I guess mainly because I was self-conscious of myself. I wish I could go back in time and like do some of that differently, though. Do it again a little bit, but that's the thing. A lot of us, as we were teenagers, started getting into having girlfriends and stuff. A lot of the other kids, and so their time got less and less as we got older, of having time to do the show.
And you know, another thing, if you remember right, I mean, back in the day, back in 86, 87, when I was part of the NWF, you and I were on the phone an awful lot because neither of us were ladies' men.
Yeah.
And we were both all about the wrestling.
Well, not just you, Dave. I was on the phone with everybody like that.
Oh, I know.
So I was always talking on the phone. It was rotary, you know, it wasn't cell phones or anything. There's no texting or anything like that. It was actual phone calls.
Yeah, for us having a chat with two wrestlers at the same time.
Yeah, we do the party calling and stuff.
Yep.
That was pretty typical. And then sometimes I'd be on the phone late at night. I remember being on the phone with the Mystery Man till 2 a.m. on school nights. Now there came a point where I just quit school to concentrate on the show. Once we started doing live events and stuff, it got so overwhelming. I needed to commit to it. And my mom was not happy with that. And she didn't even know I did that until a few months later. She found out. She was not happy. And I told her, though, I said, Mom, don't worry, because I will get my GED when time's right and I will go back. I said, so just don't worry about it. And she got over it. And then I did exactly that. I got my GED and went and got my college degree. So it's like I knew I could do that. So it's like I'm going to put my time into the wrestling now because this is what my commitment is. And
we were young, and wrestling was our passion.
And it was just on a roll. The league was on a roll. The momentum, it was just moving in the direction, and I could feel it. We all could feel it. And so I wanted to commit to it full time, and that's what I did.
Yep.
So that's what it takes, you know. Like Nathan, I have so much respect for him, like with NIPW, because like for him, he has to. It's if it wasn't for Nathan, that operation would not be happening.
Right.
Mitch does a lot. He's part of the technical side, but Nathan is the nuts and bolts of that operation.
Right.
Every indie fed, you know, we were an indie fed. We were kids in an indie fed, but every indie fed needs somebody that's the nuts and bolts, somebody that's keeping the fabric together and is running the ship.
Right.
You know, commanding the ship, really. So that's really what it was. You know, Because if I wasn't there doing that, who would be? Larry, Steve? Well, we've seen how that went with NCWA.
Right.
When they got their way and they finally went off on their own. They flopped like a fish. Fish out of water, you know. Didn't know what they were doing. Thought they did. So, well, Dave, I suppose we're kind of to the end of the show. Thanks for all the questions and stuff, guys. That was a lot of good conversation.
There's one thing I want to say to all the people that watch this in replay. You need to join us live. We are not like a lot of podcasts where the only way we'll acknowledge your comment is if you do a super chat. Yeah, we appreciate the super chats.
Yeah, we had some really nice super chats last week. I told you, Dave, and somebody was very generous with us, and his name was Mickey, and he gave us some super. And I don't expect them super chats, but it's always nice when you get one.
You know,
but we will never ever like. I mean, Dave, you brought it up, but like we never like say, you know, some channels try to really push their super chats and thanks things and stuff, and I never do that. What I do like to push is subscribing to us. You know, if you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, that helps us as well, and you can get to see all the top quality stuff as well. What we just watched to be able to see in full high definition.
You know, it's like it shows in the bottom of the screen there. You like us, you subscribe to us, and you click the bell.
Yeah.
That's how we appreciate the help, because you do that, you get your friends to do that. That helps grow the channel, and it helps us out.
And Gizmo, just to answer your one question, though, like you guys asked, somebody in your crew asked last week, you asked Ricky, does he honestly think he can beat Crusher in a shoot? And like in a real match? And Ricky looked at the camera and said, yeah. How he does it, he goes, this kind of thing. Yeah. You know, total confidence. Like, I hate it when he does that. Here's the thing. That'll happen, guys. When I go out there in Northern Ireland, Ricky and I will go back to back and we'll videotape it. We'll see what happens. We'll see if the kids got it or not. So you'll see that happen. I guarantee that. Not guaranteeing I'm going to beat him, but I'm going to guarantee you I'm going to give him 110%.
Yep.
Look, that's a challenge that I just can't. You don't challenge Crusher. Don't challenge Crusher. That's the rule of thumb here. Might be old and over the hill, but I can still go. All right. So I'm going to just talk about quickly, though, before we go off, Dave, what's coming up on future shows like we always do.
Yep.
This is what we got going on. Coming this Sunday, this is going to be a real interesting show with Keaton. Diggler Nolan sets the record straight. You know, a while back we had Marty Jones, a very famous wrestler in Europe, on with us, and he was talking about this match with Digger Nolan. And Digger somehow seen it or heard it, and now Digger wants to come on and say his side of the story. So we're going to hear from him and hear what he has to say.
Right.
So it'll be an interesting, kind of follow-up to what happened with he's going to defend himself, I guess. So it should be a great conversation. I'm looking forward to this. That's going to be Sunday. It's Keaton. Then a week from tomorrow, it won't be the Canary Kid, everybody. He's in Canada. But it's going to be substituting for the Canary Kid, the very talented John McCann, the Irish grappler, subbing in. And we're going to watch some of John's matches that he's had recently. John's just a couple years older than Ricky. And he's he also started when he was 14 as well. And started a couple years before Ricky, obviously. And John is just so talented. And he's a heel though now. So I don't know. He's probably get a little character talk with me and John, and I don't know how it's going to go. We'll see. But it should be an entertaining show. Now, Ricky says it won't be as entertaining, but that's just because Ricky's jealous because John's taking his place. So,
but only for the next couple weeks.
Yeah, just for 3 shows. So, yeah.
And if I remember correctly from our chats off camera, this is a gentleman that wants to old yeller you.
Well, rumor has it. Yeah, he kept saying that he wants to have when I was at training with him at the training seminar that I did with him, he was wanting to have a match with Crusher, but I don't know. We'll see. Rumor has it that he's kind of got a chip on his shoulder right now too. We'll find out what that's all about next week. So I don't know. we'll see.
You know, that Chip may be. Why didn't you consider him for the NWF World Title?
Well, I don't know. I guess we'll find out next week when he comes on. And then Dave, you always complain that I don't do this. So this is what's coming up on the next Rewind. There it is. I guess that logo is kind of in the way, but well, anyways. Yoho Municipal.
Yep.
You see one of the Super Ds with Invader 1 there. It's going to be Studio Taping 76. This will be in 2 weeks. This is what Dave and I this is the show we're going to watch. So
right.
Should be a good one. Looking forward to that. So that's what we got coming up in 2 weeks. And that's, of course, we're in the professional wrestling ring finally now. And that's when the wrestling started taking a turn for the better.
Well, that's when everybody got less afraid to take a bump.
Less afraid to take a bump, and some of the training from Eddie Sharkey starting to filter in.
Right.
So that's all good stuff. So that's what we got coming up on the horizon. So thanks everybody for tuning in. Wayne, it was great to see you again. It's been a while since we've seen everybody. Well, I know, but Wayne's doesn't always make it, so I want to make a special shout out for Wayne and anybody else. I know there's a lot of people watching, so a lot of people, you guys are silent viewers. You're welcome to chat with us. We take all comments in.
Like I said before, those of you that watch us in replay, come watch us live. Interact with us. We love the interaction.
Yeah, we had some great interaction with Ricky the other day, last week. A lot of good conversation, and it was great. And we like that. And I remember Mickey, the one who gave us all the super chats, goes, "I'm sorry if I'm talking too much." No, talk all the more the better. We always love. It's when we get all these chats coming in is when our shows go forever because we just keep taking the comments in.
Yep.
So. But all right, guys. Well, it was a great show, and we will see you then. I'll see you guys on Sunday with Keaton, and then after that, I'll be on again in a week from Friday with Mr. John McCann, the Irish grappler. I'm looking forward to that one on NWF Forward. So we'll see you on the next shows.
And I'll see you in 2 weeks.
2 weeks with Dave. Thanks for joining, everybody.
See ya.